Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Badgerworks. Today, this. This is the Airfix Land Rover Series 1 in 1/43 scale, and that's what we're going to build today. So, let's get on with it. So, yes, this is indeed the Land Rover Series 1. This came from Hobbycraft. It's one of the starter sets. I didn't pay that much for it, I should add. I got this... There was a branch of Hobbycraft that closed down near me recently, and they were selling stuff off with significant discounts. So don't ignore that. that's not how much I paid for it. We're going to do something a bit different with this one. I have been absolutely mad busy with work and other things over the last couple of weeks. I haven't had a chance to do anything. Or anything fun anyway. I have got about 3 hours before I have to go to work again, so I thought I would see how far I get with this. So this is going to be a bit of a speed build. So let's get this out of the box and have a look at it, because time is of the essence, as they say. Right, there are the instructions. Let's have a quick look at these. Right. Oh, they've got the usual thing they put in here. This is actually quite interesting. I quite like this. You know, it's a good idea to put this in a starter set. It basically gives you a rough guide of how to build things. But, you know, we'll leave that to one side. We don't need that. So, let's have a look. So, Land Rover Series 1 pickup. Angular and purposeful, you would not expect a rugged and hard-working utility vehicle to attract the admiration of the motoring world. However, that is exactly what the Land Rover Series managed to do. Entering production in 1948, the Land Rover was an attempt by the Rover Company to re-enter the motoring market during the austerity of the post-World War II world, producing an affordable agricultural and light industrial vehicle with a multitude of applications. The Land Rover was designed with little in the way of driver comfort in mind. Any of those who've been in the army will know that. But was intended to operate effectively in the most demanding of situations, quickly earning a reputation for practicality and reliability. The pickup version featured an enclosed cab and open rear compartment, which could be used to transport anything from machinery to livestock over all kinds of terrain. If you have a tough motoring job that needs doing, better call on the services of a Land Rover. And you know what, I would agree with that. Having spent quite a few years in the army, I have spent a lot of time in Land Rovers. And they are genuinely very, very good off-road. Oh, they're in the decals. So, yeah, only a couple, as I suspected. So we've got a couple of badges, a couple of gauges, and the number plates. So, all right, we'll put those to one side. Right. We've got the paints and, oh, the brush. So the brush is the usual fare. It's a size 2 Humbrol brush. They're actually very useful brushes. I always keep these. As far as the paint goes, it's an interesting choice of colours that they've given with this, because let's have a look at the back of the box for a minute. Because you've got these are all Humbrol colours, obviously. So 96 is RAF matte blue, which I have. I don't know if we'll use it, because every Land Rover I've ever seen, the chassis was black, but you know, whatever. I'll probably just do it black, to be honest. The cab and the body is 196, which is apparently light grey satin, which I don't have, apart from this little pot. I think we'll probably just use a light grey for it, of some description. Now it says that these trim parts are silver, but they look like they're just a darker grey to me, so we'll see how we get on with that. But anyway, let's have a look at the actual model itself. Let's get it out of this bag. Right. Get it out. So there's our glass. So we've got front windscreen, side windows, lights, and rear window. So we'll leave those in the bag for now, so they don't get scratched. Right, let's see what sort of state this is in. I have to say, on first glance, it doesn't look terrible. Yeah, it doesn't look bad at all. Of course, we'll see what happens when we start building it, but still. I I think it might have a little tiny bit of flashing that we're going to have to clean up, but that's all right. Is that a spare? That might be the spare. Oh yeah, because I think that fits over the on the bonnet there. Yeah, all right, well, let's make a start. Like I said, I'm very pushed for time with this, so we're going to do it as quick as we can. I just noticed actually, 0 to 60, 107 seconds. That's like, what is that, nearly 2 minutes? Maximum speed 61 miles an hour. Yeah, sounds about right. The first ones were petrol, and they didn't go very well. They weren't very fast. Obviously the ones that we had in the army, or when I was in, were all 90 and 110 series Defenders, and they were all diesels, or nearly all diesels. We did have a few of the old Mark IV, I think they were, air portables, and they had petrol engines, and they actually, because the diesel ones, hang on. The diesel ones were, they had governors on them, so they would top out at about, I think, 55 or 60 miles an hour. So they weren't very fast, but the thing was, it was to stop you over revving them, to make them last longer, and they were incredibly reliable. I mean, the funny thing was, when I was stationed in Canada in Bathurst, we had, they would always, all of the motor manufacturers wanted to get in with the British Army and you know, sell them their vehicles, and yet there wasn't a single one that could do the job as well as the Land Rover. I mean, they got busted up. Don't get me wrong; they got absolutely hammered, but they were remarkably resilient. I don't know if that's supposed to be on there or not. We'll leave it on there for now. Right, wheels. Yeah, they were very, very resilient. The funny thing is, they would. I don't know if this actually has them or not. We'll have a look in a minute when we get to the underside. But the main problem that we had with them in Canada was they would break suspension, break the springs. And they would also break the outriggers on the chassis. So basically the way it worked was you had, because the interesting thing with these is the chassis is made of steel, but the body is made of aluminium. So they don't rust, except in the bits where the body and the chassis meet, because you've got two different types of metal. And in that situation, you would get oxidization. So, but they had outriggers on the underside of the body to support the, or on the chassis, but to support the body, and those would crack, and they would frequently need welding up. But aside from that, they did very well. They did remarkably well, in fact. I was always pleasantly surprised at how robust they were, and you could do all sorts with them. The annoying thing of it was, I don't have many pictures of my Land Rover from when I was in Canada, but because I was doing range safety, I was over there for months, and you'd spend a lot of time on the prairie, and so I did a lot of work on mine to make it a bit more comfortable, and yeah, it worked very well. I had crew shelters. I had an old Warrior crew shelter that I cut in half, and I mounted half of it on each side of the Land Rover, so that you'd have somewhere to sleep without having to sleep in the back. And I had a gas cooker in there, like a 2-burner gas stove. I had a little portable like cooler to keep stuff in, mainly bacon, I must say. We used to get through a lot of bacon sandwiches. And I also had something that, as well as all of the radio equipment, because my Range Rover, Land Rover, was an FFR, which is fitted for radio. It had 2 alternators, one 12-volt alternator to power the vehicle, and then it had 2 truck batteries in the back to power all the radio equipment. And so it had a second 24-volt alternator to charge those batteries. And as a result of that, I could fit a BV in my Land Rover, which is a boiling vessel. And anyone who's ever served in any cavalry unit will know that a BV is basically like a very, very rugged electric kettle. And it will boil, it uses a huge amount of power, but it will basically, it will boil like a pint of water in about a minute. And so because I had the 2 batteries in the back, I could use that. And I had one fitted in my Land Rover. I got a Buckshee one from the stores. It was one that had been fitted to a vehicle that had been written off, and they'd taken it out and it had gone into the stores, but it was it wasn't planned to go into anything else. So I spoke to the Tiffy in the workshop, and he said I could have it. And so they had an electrician fit battery terminals to it, so we could wire it directly into the batteries in the back. And so basically I had an extension cord connected to the batteries in the back that I could then plug in this BV. So yeah, my Land Rover was the envy of all. Apparently when I left, I heard afterwards from some friends of mine who were still there that apparently everyone was fighting over who was going to get my Land Rover. But you know, this is the thing I always used to say when I was in the army: any idiot can be uncomfortable in the field. The plan is find a way to make yourself as comfortable as possible. Right, so they've put all these little knobbly bits on to make the parts mould better, which is good, but it does mean there's also a lot of work here cutting them all off, and it does mean you have a lot of excess plastic. But you know, better that than it not being moulded properly. You'll probably hear a lot of banging and crashing outside. I've got the door open because it is brutally hot in this workshop at the moment, and the birds are out there fighting over the birds and the squirrels are out there fighting over the bird feeder. So right, so I think what we'll do, oh, there's more on here as well, because of course there are. So yeah, I'm not going to be too precious about this. I just want to get it built as quickly as possible. Right, so let's look at how this chassis goes together, because I think we'll do that first. There is one thing that they do with these plans that I like, is they actually show you in yellow here where to apply the glue. I quite like that. It's like even here, look, it's like, yeah, put a little dot of glue there, put a bit there, you know, it actually tells you where to apply glue. I like that. It's like I say, for a starter kit, they're very well thought out for the most part. Right, so let's see now. Of course, now I've cut all the bits off the thing, I'll figure out where they will go. So right, that goes in there like that. And then these outriggers go like that. Well, I'll tell you what, so far it's going together very well. Where's the other one? There it is. Right, that goes in that side. Like that. I should really put my glass on. I can't see what the hell I'm doing. I hope you can. Right, that goes like that. Oh, birds. God. The trouble is the birds come down and land outside the door to get the food from the bird feeders that's fell on the floor. And when they see that I'm sitting here, because I've got the door open, they panic and fly away. Right, that goes with the spring hanger at the front. So that goes like that. Get in there. And then I'll put a little bit of glue at the back there. This is surprisingly detailed, actually, I have to say. I'm quite impressed with this so far. Alright, that goes like that. I'll get the other spring on. Oh. Oh, get in the middle. Oh, go on, get in there. There we go. You know, I think it would have been easier to have put the axles on first, but never mind. Oh, no wonder this is going together well. I just noticed looking at the box. Oh, there we go. Design and tooling 2023. This kit is almost brand new. So I say the new starter kits go together very, very well. I'm very impressed with the older ones, not so much, but the new ones definitely. Right, let's get these axles put together. So we want this. Let's just put that to one side for a minute. And that's the front axle. I think it's this one. That goes on there. Is that the right one? It must be. Hang on a minute, what am I doing here? Or is it that one? No, it's that one. I got it right the first time. Right, I just need to trim that bit off there. I really should put my glasses on, because I can't see a bloody thing. Ah, the joys of getting old. Right, that goes like that. There we go. Yeah, this is remarkably good so far. Right, that's that one. And now that and this go together, I assume. There we go. That's more like it. Hang on a minute. Right, hang on, where are my glasses? Because that looks like there's a big gap in there. There we go, that's better. Right, that's better. Right, that's the axles. And so now we need to put these in here. I'll clean that bit up as well. In case any of you are wondering, by the way, what this bit is, this is the transmission brake. So basically, for the handbrake, instead of it braking, being connected to the wheels, it's actually connected to the back of the transfer case. And that is basically a brake drum. And it has brake shoes in it, just like a normal brake. So when you put the handbrake on, what you're actually doing is locking the prop shaft in place to stop the vehicle from moving. So, ingenious idea. Right, so this goes in at the back. Now the fun bit is, how are we supposed to get that in there? Do you have to kind of do it like this? There we go. Bit of finagling required. And that goes on there. Right. Glue that, glue that. That went together better than expected, I have to say. But yes, you can see here there. So you have if you have a look underneath the Land Rover, you'll see on the back of the transfer case, there's a brake drum. That's what it's for. It's basically the handbrake. Okay, and now this one, it needs a little bit of cleaning up on that prop shaft. I say I'm not being too precious with this because I want to get it done. And I'm genuinely curious to see how far I can get with this in the very limited amount of time I have. Seeing as we've already been going for, well, not in the video, but certainly in reality, I've been doing this for half an hour. Right, that goes in there. Oh, this one's a bit trickier. Put that like that. That goes like that. Right, now we want to get that. Oh. Oh, that didn't help. That did not help at all. Oh, good grief. Come on, get in there. Got one side in, I can't get the other side in. There we go. Right, and then we want a bit glue at the back here. Oh, you rat bag. Right, there we go. Oh. So that is that. That actually looks pretty good, I have to say. The amount of time I've spent underneath Land Rovers, that actually looks remarkably good. Now, is there anything else that needs to go under here? I think we should have a cross member somewhere, if I recall. There are, in fact, 2 cross members. Okay. Right, so this one, I could probably do with a pair of tweezers for this. Right, this one goes in here. Oh, kind of, almost, after a fashion. That goes there. Like that, and there's the other one there. That goes in there. Yeah, I like how detailed the underside of this is. It's almost it seems unnecessarily detailed, but I like it. Right, and that goes like that. So that should be the underside complete. So we'll put that to one side for a minute. We're going to put the wheels together quickly. Oh, do you know what I've realised? What else they've done? They actually show you on the frames where the parts are. That's really clever. I like that. I've never noticed that. I like that. Very good. Well done, Airfix. You're doing a fine job with these things. Oops, oops, steady, easy. That needs a bit of cleaning up. See, this would be, I think, would be a bit of an issue for someone building this, you know, if you're doing it with your kids or something. It's things like this. Might be a bit tricky, but, you know, adult supervision and all that. Although, of course, who supervises the adults? That is the question. Right. That goes like that. Like that. So I'll pop the rest of these wheels together and then we'll carry on from there. Well, so much for doing this fast. I just dropped the steering wheel on the floor and it's literally taken me like 10 minutes to find it, so that didn't really help. But we'll just pop that in. There we go. We'll let that dry. That seems to stick out a long way, but it'll be all right. Okay, now, one of the things I've noticed actually while I've been cleaning up these parts is the amount of detail they put in this. It's actually quite impressive. They've done all the inside of the door here. So you've got like the door latch and more importantly, they've got the flange here. Now, those of you who are familiar with Land Rovers will know this, but one of the fun things with Land Rover is you can actually, the doors are in two halves. If you look at the outside, you'll see both the hinges are at the bottom here. And there's a seam along here. And inside there's a flange, and the top and the bottom half of the doors are actually bolted together. And you can take those bolts out and take the top half of the door off. And also, as we can see on here, they've actually kind of done it. This here is a hinge, and the windscreen actually folds down. You can also unbolt it and take it off completely. So you can actually turn these into kind of a convertible by taking the top of the doors off, take the roof off, because again, this roof is again quite realistic because it is just one piece, and it's bolted all the way round. And you can undo the bolts and take the roof off. So, and the same with the back of the cab. There's a flange along here with some bolts in it, and you can take those bolts out and basically turn this into a convertible. The funny thing is, and this is one of the reasons why on British Army Land Rovers you don't see, or very rarely see them with the spare wheel on the bonnet. Firstly, because it makes the bonnet really difficult to open because it's really heavy. But also, if you've got the spare wheel on there, you can't fold the windscreen flat. so that's why they don't have them. But I'm just going to start putting the cab together. So I'm going to paint this not the way they say, but I'm going to paint it basically the way I remember them. And the way I remember it is the inside of the cabs are all black, so it should make life a little bit easier. So I'll just start assembling the cab, and the way they tell you to do it in the plan, yes, you can do it that way, but I'm going to do it slightly differently. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to paint these parts first, and then put it all together. So because the plan calls now for this piece to go on like that, and then basically you build the cab off of it, but I'm going to do it slightly differently because I want to paint all these parts first. One of the things that's quite funny actually, and they have again modeled this on here, you'll notice that on the driver's side, on the underside here, there's this box thing here. That's actually the fuel tank. On the later models, like the 190s and the 110s, the fuel tank was at the back. But on the early ones, and especially the petrol ones, the fuel tank is under the driver's seat. The battery is under the passenger seat, and the fuel tank is under the driver's seat. So the driver is basically sitting on the fuel tank. And that little bit there, that's actually the drain for the fuel tank. So they've done a really good job of modelling this. I'm continually impressed by this, by how much detail there is. So, but yeah, like I say, they've got everything on the inside. They've got all the door handles and everything. You've got the heater fan that was always utterly worthless. But yeah, the one thing it doesn't have, which is kind of odd, is it doesn't have a gear stick. There should be a gear stick here, and they haven't put a gear stick on it. I suppose it was just too difficult to mould. But that's the inspection cover for the gearbox. So, but anyway, what I'm going to do now is I am going to put some primer on all of these parts, and then we'll start painting it. So, but yeah, we're getting there. We're getting there. Right, I've just primed all those parts up. I just used our normal high coat grey primer. Not a sponsor, but as always, if anyone from High Coat is watching. Anyway, so moving on, we're now going to turn our attention, while we're waiting for that primer to dry, to the glass. And what I'm going to do, and you've seen me do this before, but I'm going to use some of this X19 smoke to paint the inside of the glass, because I find it adds a little tint and it makes it look a lot more realistic and a lot less plastic. So this is one of the old jars, by the way. You can see the size of the thing compared to the new ones. But anyway, so we'll just... Now the trick when you're doing this is you want to put it on fairly thick. And it works a lot better with a brush than it does if you airbrush it. It kind of goes on matte. Whereas if you put it on with a brush, it kind of stays glossy, which is what we want. So we'll just put a nice coat on here. That is way too much. Never mind. And you want to try and avoid leaving any brush marks in it if you can. But kind of like that, you see. And if we look at that from the other side, I'll clean it up a little bit, but you get the idea. That's better. Like that, you see. And if you compare that to the others, you can see that now looks a lot better. So we'll just do the rest of these. Like that, you see. And we're also going to do the headlights while we're at it, but I'll get a different colour for those. And for those, we're going to use this Citadel chainmail. And what we'll do is just paint the back of them silver. Let's use a different brush for that. For some reason they've made them hollow. Never mind. So we use one of those Humbrol brushes that they give you with the kit. And we'll just get in there and do the inside of that. We'll just put a nice blob of paint in there. Like that. Just to make them look silver. There we go. We'll let all that dry and then we'll start painting the rest of it. Right, so we're going to start off by painting the tyres with this XF85 rubber black. And we're just going to do the whole thing. Like that, you see. And those of you who've been watching for a while will know what's coming next. But let me get the rest of these wheels done and then I'll show you. Right, so I've decided for the body I'm going to use this XF81 REF Dark Green 2, just because most Land Rovers I've seen are green, so, you know, it seems to make sense. So to do the wheels, we're going to use a technique that you've seen me use before, those of you who've been long-time viewers, but some of you may not. And we're going to use this. This is a circle template, and as you can see it has a variety of holes, stop laughing at the back, ranging from 1mm all the way up to whatever size that is, 30mm I think, no 33, 36mm. So what you do is you find the hole that is the right size for your wheel, which in this case I've already checked and it's 10mm. You put the wheel centered like that, and then you take your airbrush and you spray like that, and that gives us a nicely painted wheel, you see. So I'll do the rest of these and we'll go on from there. And moving swiftly on, we're going to paint the chassis and the inside of the cab with this XF1 flat black. Right, so I've just taped off the bottom of this just to avoid too much overspray. Like that, and I'll carry on and do all the rest of these bits, and then we'll come back and go on from there. Right, I've just done a bit of masking, and now we're going to turn back to our XF81 and do all the outside of the body. So I'll do the rest of these bits and then we'll go from there. Right, I'm afraid we're going to have to call it quits there because I really need to get to work. But yeah, I was hoping to get this done, but I think that was a bit of a fool's errand. But I think we've done all right so far. We've got a lot of it done. So yes, we'll draw a line under it there, and we will pick this up in the next video. I might even do a little diorama or something for this to go on. I don't know yet, but we'll see. If any of you have any suggestions for a diorama, then, you know, put them in the comments. I was thinking just like a little dirt track or something, but, you know, we'll see. But anyway, hopefully you've enjoyed this little foray into madness. If you've done any speed builds, let me know. It'd be interesting to see how quick people build stuff. But anyway, there we go. I really need to get going. So, yes, as ever, I'd like to thank my top tier patrons, Howard, Amy, Chris and Hawaii Clive O, for their continued support. And we will finish this nonsense in the next one. Thanks very much for watching, folks. Cheers. Bye.